if you got it on your shoulder, the ISO is always on the left, and the B is always on the right. If you have the gun on your shoulder. Now, if you're standing in front of the gun, A is always on the right, B is on the left. So just pick your choice.
This is why we put the white tape on this hose too, so you know if you ever have to remove these, your white is always going to match up with your silver ISO.
I always remember the black and B go from the tank and also here at the middle. That's why you got a black tape.
Right? See how this nut is flush here?
Yes.
Alright, so you're just going to go 7 turns in, depending on what you want. You can go all the way in if you want max flow and back it off from there. I typically like to start with 7 turns, so we're gonna, that's the one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know what? Since we want extra flow, we're gonna go 8. That's almost bottomed out. It's usually like 8 or 9 turns will bottom it out.
And what's up, you put a 75 in there, so if you totally bottom out, you get 75 pounds a minute. Is that?
Actually, if your chemical is nice and warm, we can probably get up to like 80, 85 pounds per minute with that piston. It's just a target point.
Okay.
What I always tell people is when you grab this and you take this black plunger out, it's set up to go in the piston just that way. So you can put it right in like this, orifice always to the back. Right, so you got your piston, and you got your spring next, and then you got your nut. The only time you're going to change these out is if it gets stuck. If the gun sits for a while, sometimes what happens is that piston will get stuck in there. But these, you should be able to set them and forget them. As long as your pressure is good, your temperatures are good, and you have no blockages in the gun, you should not have to adjust these. So you see how I tossed my gloves in the bag too?
Yes.
If you're ever going to work with both materials, when you're done working with the ISO, just chuck your gloves and that crap out of the way. Because if you cross-contaminate everything, you're going to run into problems. You have the auto function here. You can hit reset. You can plug in any time shot that you want. So we're just going to plug in 5 seconds for now. At the bottom right here, you're going to hit enter. And you see how it says saved? That saved needs to come up in order for that time to be actually accepted into the timer. Always want to make sure that that says ratio on. If that says ratio on, you know that the timer is going to count your ratio for you. Alright? So if you come into here, program, you see A pounds, it's 0 now because there's no recorded shot in here. But when Steven and I do the calibration of this gun, we're going to use this function, and the timer is going to tell us what it thinks it dispensed, and we're going to physically weigh that liquid A on a scale, and there's a calculation between the scale weight, what this thing thinks, and the ppps, which is the pulses per pound. Alright, so MAN, that stands for manual. In the manual function on the gun, pull the trigger and hold it. It will dispense as much chemical as you want until you let go of that trigger.
Nothing mixes in the gun until it gets out here. You have no chemical reactions.
Typically, there should be no
It's an external
maintenance
mix.
on the gun.
Yeah, as long as you take care of the equipment, this gun is meant to come in and shoot every single day. That's the good thing about the external mixes, is you have no chemical coming together inside the gun.
I do is I'll take that, once that rises to the top, that looks pretty good. Once that rises to the top, and it looks like a milkshake, I'll cut the top of that off even with the bucket and do a calculation.
Keith will love to see that. They're coming. He has to go feed the horses first.
When that stuff fall on the ground like that, let it sit there about 10 minutes. Then it'll scrape right up. You won't have nothing on the floor.
Awesome.
All right, so my name is Chad Svidok with BASF. I'll be your tech service representative. You can reach me at 612-839-1547. What we're going to go over here is our AutoFrost setup. This is your resin side. It's AutoFrost 100B 1704. So 1704 is your system number. 100 is your ratio. So it's 100 parts of A to 100 parts of B by weight. So when we weigh them, you'll have whatever your A is and your B is, they need to be equal to be 100 plus or minus 5%. So we run off nitrogen. It's a pressurized system. So our nitrogen will set for 235 PSI. We're filling the tanks through the nitrogen here, go through into the tank, they come out of the tank through a filter, through a flow meter. This is your flow meter sensor. The sensor cable is going to your timer box to give you an actual ratio while you're shooting. So we hook up the ISO and resin side. They have different style fittings. So they're the same fittings, they're just opposite, so you can never hook it up backwards. On the ISO side, it has more of like a cup, and you always have to wipe out all the ISO all the Vaseline that's packed in there for shipping. Pull that all out, couple them together. When you're done and you pull it off, you got to wipe all that ISO out. There's a little kit on there that you pack it full of Vaseline again, and then we bleed these cylinders down to 90 PSI. For shipping, we can't send them back under pressure.
Valve, open up the door, sit them outside, open up this ball valve. When you stop hearing the air, close that ball valve. It's good. It'll be that. Open up this nitrogen valve slow.
Oh, I can get it.
Okay, now I'm open up this one slow. Okay, so what I'm